Hi everyone, it's Doric, and today I'm with Bree.
Hey!
And today we're going to be talking about our application to Oxford, because I've been asked about it by loads of you, so I thought I'd make a video sort of talking about that sort of thing. We actually have filmed a video on Bree's channel, which is sort of like the first half of the application process, so if you want to check it out, then click on the link that's in the description or like floating around on the screen somewhere. And we're going to be talking about why we chose Oxford over Cambridge, the interview process, preparation, that sort of thing. So, why did you choose Oxford over Cambridge?
You know what, actually, when I was little, I preferred the name Cambridge, so I was like, I'm going to apply to Cambridge. But then, when I was actually looking up the course, I saw that they didn't have lessons for people who already knew Japanese.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've been doing it for 4 years, I can't go to the beginner's class again.
Yeah, it was sort of the same for me, like, I checked both of them, I looked at the courses and sort of compared them, and the Oxford course I prefer the fact that the year abroad is in the second year, so next year, or actually this September, we're going to Japan for our year abroad. In Cambridge you're only going the third year. That was basically why I chose Oxford. Also, I think with the grade requirements, I get the sort of like impression that Oxford is less strict with grades, like Cambridge, with your AS especially, like they have to see your AS UMS grades, and also the offers tend to be higher. Like Oxford, the standard offer for like a humanities subject is AAA, but at Cambridge it's A-star AA, so it's like easier to get the Oxford offer than the Cambridge offer, I think.
Yeah, it just feels like too much pressure.
No, yeah, exactly.
You don't know if you're going to get an A-star.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me not do that. Yeah. But also, I actually preferred the fact that it had the year abroad in the third year.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I was like, I don't feel like I'm good enough for Japanese. If I had 2 years, then
I guess.
Then I'd be able to properly understand everything when I was there. So that kind of like put me off of Oxford, because like, do I really want to do that? But then, because in the 3rd and 4th year you can choose a language, like a second language, it makes more sense to do it that way. So that you have 2 years
to
together.
do that language. I think at Cambridge, if you want to do, well, you can't do Chinese as a second language anyway, but if you want to do Korean, you only get 1 year of Korean in your 4th year. Yeah, that's it. And I feel like 1 year, it's not even 1 year really, because the term's so short, it's basically like you get 6 months of Korean, 4 months of Korean or something. Yeah. So you basically get hardly any time, so sad times.
What's quite unique about Oxford and Cambridge is that they have a college system. So rather than it being one huge campus, I don't know how to describe it.
You're in a college, so I think Oxford has like 30 colleges, and you apply to a college rather than the actual university itself.
Yeah.
And that college is where you'll live. It's where you spend, I don't know, it's where you spend most of your time really.
So basically, if you do like a normal subject that isn't Chinese or Japanese, then you would have your lessons in your college as well. Yeah. But we have our lessons in the Oriental Institute or the China Centre or the Nissan Institute, so we don't actually have any lessons in our colleges.
So we basically, it's kind of like school. Like every day I sort of leave and then go off to class, and that's where I spend most of the day, then I come back in the evening. But in terms of choosing your college, basically try and, well, is there even a specific way of choosing a college? Just look around at all the colleges. Firstly, the colleges that offer your subject. Yeah. Because with Japanese, like only like half the colleges do it anyway, which I mean cuts out about 15 colleges that you can't apply to anyway.
Yeah. Also the location.
Yeah, you don't want to choose a college that is in a really bad place that has really bad accommodation like yours.
Yeah, so you want to choose, well, I don't know, it depends on what you're looking for, but I wanted to be in a central place so I could easily get to all my classes. So
it didn't work out too great.
Did not work out. So yeah, I applied to Hertford because I was like, I want to be in a central college. It's really like it's a nice location because it's near all the shops. It's near the Radcam Library and the Bodleian Library, the Pitts River Museum. Just a really nice place. But I guess other people can choose. You can choose other colleges that are further away. So St Anne's does Japanese as well.
Yeah. And it's actually quite close to the China Centre and the Oriental Institute, which is where we have most of our classes anyway. But the only thing with St Anne's is really far from the centre of Oxford. Yeah. Like 15-minute walk. Like a 15-minute walk like isn't that long in the grand scheme of things. But in Oxford, like a 15-minute walk is far.
It's long. It's far. Yeah.
So my college is quite close to the centre, so it's really convenient, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, like, I chose mine based on how many places there were for my subject, because my college is actually one of, like, I feel like it's one of the biggest for Oriental Studies or Japanese. So in my year there are three people here studying Japanese, and I think in total there must be about 10 doing Oriental Studies. So that was why I chose mine. Yeah.
So Pembroke and Hertford are the main ones. So that's kind of like a thing that you can think about, like, I want to be in a...
also Queen's has a lot for Oriental Studies as well, I think.
Yeah, they do.
But also research the tutors, just with the college that you're applying to, because if you do get an interview, then you're going to be interviewed by the tutor, and I wouldn't say, like, if a tutor's interested in classical literature, then only go and, like, research classical literature to talk about in the interview. Like, that's probably a bad thing to do. But just so that you know roughly who the tutor is, what their sort of interests are, then I feel like that can maybe help you out.
Yeah, you can mention that. I actually chose Hertford because kind of each college has certain tutors that specialise in one subject, and in Hertford they specialise in linguistics. So I was really interested in that. So I was like, let me apply here. I suppose if you have the time, you could actually read some of the books that they've published. So Professor Frellisvig has released a history of the Japanese language, but I didn't have the time to read that, but you could actually read that.
Yeah, I read it, I put it on my personal statement, and I actually ended up getting interviewed by him.
Oh, yeah.
So if you write any books on your personal statement, 100% make sure you read them, because there is a chance that the author of that book is going to be your interviewer. And you don't want to be in a position where you've said you've read their book and you haven't, because then that's just probably going to get you an instant rejection. So don't do that. So with interviews, you'll get emailed up to a week before, so you find out very, very last minute. So my interview, I think I had to be there around the 7th or 8th of December, and I got an email saying I was going to have an interview on the 1st or 2nd of December. So you find out really, really late that you're going to have an interview, and then you go there for 3 days or 3-4 days, and the college pays for everything for you to, like, stay there, eat, it's fine. And you have, I think, about 2 interviews. So I had 2. One was at my college, and one was at the Oriental Institute.
I had one interview in my college, one interview in Hertford, and one interview in the faculty, so the Oriental Institute. So the Hertford one had the linguistics professors, and the OI had just, like, any tutors. And
for me, like, the Oriental Institute one was first. Was it the same for you?
No, I don't remember. I think I had my Hertford one first.
Okay, yeah. But in our Oriental Institute interview, we got given, like, a made-up language, which we had to try and decipher, and then we had to translate from English into this language, then from that language into English. And I'm guessing you had the same thing? You can't remember?
I just remember something to do with a dog was in there. Yeah, I think you're trying to figure out, like, what the parts of speech were.
Yeah, just so they could see, I guess, how you deal with grammar, because obviously Japanese is the grammar's quite difficult. So for them to see, like, how you deal with that sort of situation, really. Yeah,
so they would give that to you before you went into your actual interview, and then you would discuss it in your interview. But it depends on each year. So I know last year they had, I know the Chinese students had a graph or something. Yeah, and actually I had 3 interviews.
There's 3?
So yeah, I had an interview at the China Centre.
Well, I was like, why at the China Centre?
Why at the China Centre from Japanese? And so I had to walk there, which was horrible. I didn't know how far away it was. But yeah, I had to walk there. I had my interview there. I was actually late, but they didn't mind. And I had to read a passage about linguistics, and then they asked me questions about that.
Well, how did you
got lost. I actually got lost because I had no clue where it was.
The China Centre is miles away. It's so far.
The guy took me there, and then he was like, "Well, I have to get back to take other students. So will you be okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." And he left me, and I tried to leave, and I couldn't tell which way I came from because the road looked exactly the same. So I was walking down this road, but then the trees started, like, more trees were, like, popping up, and I was like, I don't remember seeing these trees. And then I saw, like, a secondary school that I never saw before. I was like, you know what, I think I'm going in the wrong direction.
You walked in the wrong direction?
Yeah, for 20 minutes. So it was painful walking back. It was horrible.
Yeah. So if you have an interview, like, I make sure I have, like, a map or something, or that you can have internet or Google Maps or something, because otherwise there is a chance that, because they will take you to interviews, but they're not going to hang around and wait for you. So unless there are other people with you who know how to get back, then you're going to have to make your own way back to the college.
Mm-hmm.
So just make sure you kind of know where you're going, because otherwise you walk in the wrong direction for 20 minutes.
Like me. But actually I felt like that was kind of a good thing, because then I got to know more about Oxford.
Yeah.
So after each of my interviews I always went exploring, and I obviously got lost. So one time I was walking around for like an hour, and I somehow found a meadow with cows, and it's always been talked about it. Yeah, it's been talked about in one of my videos. Like if you go onto my channel, you'll see me talking about it. But yeah, I got lost and I saw these cows, and I was like, where am I? Is this even Oxford? I feel like I'm in the countryside. But I was actually near Christ Church College, which is like a huge, really famous church. Yeah. And you can do Japanese there as well. Okay.
No one in our years at Christ Church though.
No.
But how do you think your interviews went overall?
I actually really enjoyed the interview process. So I finally got to speak to people who had done Japanese or was interested in Japanese, because I was the only person in my school who did Japanese, and I did it outside of school. So I got to talk to people, and it was so good. And everyone was really friendly.
It definitely wasn't as scary and as daunting as I thought it would be. Because you hear all these horror stories about people showing up to the interview, and then the interviewer will say, like, give you an apple and say, tell me everything about this apple, or really weird stories like that. Like, you definitely don't have that sort of thing. Like, they don't ask you completely random questions out of the blue. Like, all the questions they ask you are based on the conversation you're having. Like, usually when you see those sort of questions online, they're completely out of context. Like, they're not just randomly going to start asking those things. Yeah, exactly. So the interviews definitely weren't as scary as I thought they would be. I actually really enjoyed my interviews, like getting to talk to experts about my subject and about Japanese. That was really cool.
I think it helped that I had a practice interview beforehand. So 2 history teachers that I'd never seen before, hadn't spoken to in school, they were my interviewers, and so they would ask me loads of questions, and it was just like getting used to being questioned and having to answer and actually like come up with things rather than being like, I don't know. That's it.
So if you can, like, I would try and get practice interviews at school, so you have an idea of sort of what things to expect. Like, personally, like, the practice interview was completely different to the real thing.
Yeah.
But when you're in a practice interview, you're still able to sort of talk about your subject to your teachers, and you get used to, I guess, talking about it, because before the interviews, really, I'd never really been able to sit in a formal sort of academic setting and just talk about Japan, talk about Japanese culture and history. So I feel like that definitely helped me.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of like the questions though,
I kind of tried to look up questions.
Yeah.
But it didn't really help. I even tried to like memorize certain things I would say.
Yeah.
When they asked me the interview, I kind of like stood at them and I forgot everything kind of. So I was like,
But I feel like the main sort of questions you should prepare for, like, why your subject, so like why you want to study Japanese. But I feel like that's kind of like a given.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like they're probably going to ask you why you want to study Japanese.
Yeah.
But like why you want to study Japanese, potentially like maybe why Oxford.
Yeah.
And mine also asked me about why I didn't want to study at a university in Japan, and why I wanted to actually study in England, because obviously I was in my gap year in Japan at a Japanese high school, and they knew that. And they asked me, well, why didn't you just stay in Japan for university instead of coming back here? So I had to talk about that. So just be prepared for those sort of questions. And also, if you have studied Japanese in the past, they might ask you to speak Japanese in the interview.
Yeah, they asked me. Yeah. And the worst question you could ever ask me is introduce yourself.
I hate that question, because like, where do you even start?
Where do you start? Yeah. I'm like, my name is Bree.
Yeah. Like,
I like Japanese. I can't. If you talk to me about any other topic in Japanese, it'll be fine.
It's just introduce
yourself. I'm like, I really can't say anything.
Yeah. Half of my first interview was in Japanese. Yeah. So we talked about. I was saying earlier, we did that little language sheet. So we did the language thing, and then after that, we just talked in Japanese for the whole interview.
No.
and then like the Japanese teacher was talking to me, and then the other interviewer, Dr. Guest, was just there, just nodding in the background, taking notes. I was like, am I even saying this right? Is everything okay? It's like a bit worrying.
Yeah, that's so scary.
It all in the end, I think it was all okay.
Yeah. I think, another thing is mainly the questions you get is about your personal statement. So just make sure that you have actually like read over your personal
Make sure
statement.
you read your personal statement.
Make sure everything that you've done in your personal statement is things that you've actually done.
Yeah. Don't lie. Just don't.
Don't lie. Make stuff up.
Like Oxford and Cambridge are the only universities where you're actually going to get interviewed. So make sure that if you say you've done something, you do it. If you say you've read a book, read it. Because otherwise you don't want to be in that position where they're asking you and you're just like, I don't know.
No. This actually happened to one girl in her interview. Her mother, I think, was in a Japanese internment camp. No, not her mother, her grandmother. Was in like a Japanese internment camp, and she spoke about that in her personal statement. So they were like, oh, could you talk to us more about that? And she hadn't actually asked her grandmother anything. So she had nothing to say. So yeah, just don't put yourself in that position, because if you lie about that, then they don't know if you said the truth in anything else. So that's likely to... And
even if you have done something, let's say you read a book, but you read it like 5 months ago, and you don't remember the story, that's pretty much the same thing. So make sure that you brush up on this, like on the books that you've read. Make sure you know sort of the main arguments and main points, because otherwise, if you can't talk about it, then like what even is the point, really? I
did a lot of reading from September to December, so I just wrote little notes about what I had read, and also made sure to read newspapers or find articles about Japan. And
just keeping up with current affairs, I think, is important as well. I think that's pretty much all with interviews, though. They weren't really as scary as we thought they'd be. No. They were. I actually enjoyed the process. As strange as that sounds, it was actually quite fun. So that's interviews. They happen in the second week of December. Then you find out if you get an offer in early January. Early January,
the first 2 weeks. The letter came. I got 2 letters.
Did you get a letter or an email?
I got 2 letters.
You got 2 letters?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my family found the letters, and they called me up like, Bree, can I open them? I was like, no.
So they wait for you?
They waited, but they were like, I can just open it for you now and then tell you on the phone. I was like, no, we're not doing this today. So I went home, I looked at the letters, and the reason why I got 2 is because I didn't get into one college, I got into another.
Okay,
so I got 2 letters for that.
But I actually got an email and a letter. I think it depends on the college. Like some colleges will send an email, some will send a letter, some will send both. But my email actually came first. And I was so stressed out that morning. So I started taking down all the decorations from the Christmas tree to try and like distract myself. And my mum was like, oh, thanks so much. Because I was like so stressed, I didn't want to think about it. So I was like in the living room, like taking everything down from the Christmas tree, put it in boxes, like kept refreshing my phone. And then I got an email, and then it was in the like first line, I just saw the word congratulations. I was just like, yay! And then like obviously a few hours later the letter came as well, so it was great.
I think other people got the results before I did. Not in my school, because I was the only one who applied. But I saw online, like, I got my offer. Lost it, was fine. Why is it not coming? But I guess the wait between getting the letter and the interviews, kind of just relax. Like, there's nothing you can do. They've already decided. So just try and like...
It is easier said than done though, because it kind of does ruin your Christmas. Like, I feel bad saying this, but like it's always on the back of your mind. Like you forget about it, and then, at the randomest moments I'll be like eating breakfast, and then it's just in my brain like,
no, why did I say that?
It's a constant like countdown as well until the day. But
I mean, I kept remembering all the bad things that I said, like why did I say that, or like, oh my days, why was that grammar point wrong? But it was fine.
It all turned out fine, so it was all good.
They don't expect you to be absolutely amazing at Japanese or know everything about Japanese, because then it would be like, why are you applying here? So it's just more about having the interest in it and the capability to learn the language.
I think that's pretty much everything now. In terms of like final advice, really, if we just summarize everything, like your grades are not really, well, they're important, but they're not the most important thing out there. They look at your whole application. Make sure you don't miss any deadlines, because when do you have to apply by?
It depends. It's like mid-October.
Yeah, I think about the 14th or 15th of October you have to apply by. Make sure like you
actually apply on time.
You apply on time, do reading around your subject, that's also really important.
Send in the right written work.
Look at course requirements and everything. And research your course.
And make sure you actually want to go to Oxford. So some people just applied because it was Oxford. And then they came here and they were like, well, I don't really like it. But everything they didn't like about it was what they were already told before they applied. So like, how many contact hours you have, or what type of homework
Yeah,
you
because we get a lot of contact hours. We get about 10, 11 hours a week. 12. Yeah. 12 hours a week of Japanese class, which is very intense. So
I think we have like 9 hours of lessons, and then tutorial, and then the 2 lectures.
Yeah.
So,
and then we have a lot of hours as well, but it is all really good.
Fun.
So I think that's pretty much everything for this video.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, then please do leave them in the comments box below. If you want to check out Bree's channel, then there's a link in the description.
Yeah.
And you can go and see the first part of this video where we talk about
kind of your personal statement, GCSEs and A-levels.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, things like that.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you're new, then please subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.
Bye.